Edwards. We're going to dig into today's LinkedIn Live, which is all about influencer partnerships. And one of the big questions I've been getting as my group coaching program, the Purpose and Profit Club, it's open right now. One of the big questions I've been getting is, will influencers and creators actually partner with my nonprofit for free? Okay, that's like the big one. And here are kind of what your big questions are when it comes to influencer marketing. I'm going to go ahead and dig in on sharing some case studies, sharing what our clients have done, sharing so much opportunity and why I created this method. It's the social street team method. It is the only place where we actually bridge the gap between marketing and fundraising. It is the only place where instead of saying, hey, our social media content looks really good, but when I ask clients, I say, or I ask other organizations, I say, well, how much fundraising revenue is coming in through that? And I hear crickets. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem. Or I hear oftentimes like, we're spending all this time on social, but it's not really helping. It's not really kind of driving the needle forward on achieving our goals. That's a problem too. Okay, so that's why you bridge the gap between development and marketing to create an ecosystem that actually collapses timelines using our ambassador and influencer marketing method. So if you're tired of outdated fundraising strategies, you are absolutely in the right place. So most nonprofits assume that this is a big one, especially small shops, assume that influencer partnership, so partnering with a thought leader, a creator online on any social network, is just for big brands with big budgets. And that might be true in the for-profit sector, but the way we teach it and the way our clients experience success, it is so different. It is very, very different. We're not paying them. You're not paying them to have a transactional post, to post about your fundraiser, to post about anything like that. It's not a paid partnership. It's not like Rubbermaid partnering with a chef, at-home chef talking about Rubbermaid. No, this is like an exclusive opportunity, a curated group of ambassadors that your organization has created. And it's an opportunity for them to use their platform for social good, which, by the way, they want to do. They actually want to do this. Okay. So I want to break down kind of the 5 big questions I've been getting and misconceptions about influencer partnerships. And so here's a big one I get. Why would an influencer do this for free? I don't get it, Christina. I was on a webinar, I was teaching a webinar, and that was one of the comments I got, which was like, I just don't get it. I don't get why somebody would do this for free. And here's what I want you to think about. That's like what they do as an influencer, okay, is they've created a brand, they've created an audience, they've created a group of people that have like, know, and trust factor for whatever they're like. For example, if they're a wellness blogger or something like that, people already know, like, and trust them. They have a platform, they have a space, and they may have 500,000 followers online. And it's amazing. And they want to use that platform for good. We see this with millennials. We see this especially with Gen Z, where they actually want to see their communities change. They want to actually use their platforms to create a movement for social good online. So this will be transactional if you're not finding mission alignment. So step 1 is influencers and ambassadors are driven by a personal connection to your mission. That means they need to have strong values alignment with your cause. So that's like step 0. That's why it won't work if your organization that is a cat rescue in Nashville asks Kim Kardashian to post about your nonprofit. Like, there's no mission alignment. It doesn't even make sense. That's not even the right audience. Okay. So step 1 is like mission and values alignment. Does their audience align with your audience and that overlap? Step 2 is realizing that, I was thinking about this in prepping for it. It's like, if you've ever had a friend, a family member, maybe think about somebody you know who is a marketer and they've donated to your organization, or they've volunteered for your organization. They've participated in a volunteer day. They didn't say to you, "You're going to pay me for that volunteer day?" No, they were like, "I'm happy to help your mission, even though I have a day job, even though I get paid for this thing over here." So it just because they get paid for an aspect of being online, which influencers do, with product endorsements, with product partnerships and collaborations, doesn't mean that translates to the nonprofit sector. In fact, there's a Swiftie that is awesome, and she's got over 1.5 million followers collectively on TikTok and on Instagram, and she's raised over $60,000 for 2 different nonprofits. And I was thinking about it, and she's so thrilled to have her audience help rise to the challenge for these two organizations. One's a grassroots local one, one's a national organization. It's so cool. And if those organizations had said, how much should we pay you for your post? She would have been like, what? Like, I think that would have offended her. Like, no, 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 you're missing it. That's not what I want to even do this for. So really important to like switch how you're thinking about it. And instead think about this the way you might think about your monthly donors, like huge alignment, the way you might even think about your major donors, right? They believe in your mission so fiercely that they are supporting it multiple times a year. They are showing up to volunteer events. They are showing up with large donations. It's not because it's transactional. It's because they actually want to see their investment help more people. So if you think about that, it's actually helping them achieve their philanthropic goals faster. Question number 2, I get all the time. Where do I even find these people? Where do I even find them? So most people assume that, you need a celebrity, or like I was saying, you need somebody with just this international, like you need an actor, you need somebody like that. And that's actually one of the biggest like mistakes in how you're thinking about it. Number one, the best influencers are probably already in your ecosystem, because we have influencers that have 10,000, 100,000, a couple 100,000 followers online. Is quality over quantity, number one, and like alignment over quantity, number 2. So your existing donors, volunteers, board members, and we live now in a time where somebody knows somebody who is a YouTuber, who is a TikToker, right? Who has a large engaged audience. So they're already around. You just have to see them, right? You just have to go through our process. We have templates, we have pitch scripts, we have everything inside my coaching program, the club, to help support you with that outreach process. But they're already there. Sometimes they're business owners. Sometimes we've had street teamers who are local and national businesses. There's so many different opportunities. So I'm going to give you a specific example here. So think about a nonprofit that says we need to reach younger donors. So instead of trying to take months and months of just guessing how to build out a younger donor base to attract them, partnering with a Gen Zer who is just wildly passionate for climate change and is a climate change advocate on TikTok. So partnering with that, she's creating short 90-second videos, right? And bringing in more new donors to your pipeline. So you have to think about it that way, is like, where are the people who are already passionate about our cause hanging out, right? And so depending on what your goals are for your organization, it can be donations, it can be event ticket sales, it can be monthly donors, it can be programmatic enrollment. You can use it can be awareness and visibility. There's a group that I'm in, and a nonprofit, a small shop nonprofit, asked a question, and it really just kind of made me go the other day. They were talking about, how do we create ads on like gaming apps? And I thought to myself, why? Why do you want to create ads on, like, they were trying to buy ad space on certain gaming apps. And you want to ask yourself, why am I doing the strategy that I'm doing? Is it getting me the fastest, most efficient, most high quality results that I want? So that is sort of throwing money and spaghetti on the wall type of philosophy, right? Placing some ads in a gaming app and is not going to achieve you new donors. And that is a long walk. That is high, cold traffic. It's not going to be a strong ROI. And I'm like thinking about, who is your ideal donor? Who is it? Or maybe if you're looking for more volunteers, or you're looking for more programmatic enrollment, things like that. I'm going to go, is a gaming app that is reaching people across the world right for our grassroots local nonprofit? Probably not. Is there a better way, right? And sometimes organizations will say, well, we would love to do this, but we are, we've got our gala, we've got our 5K, or we've got our auction. We're already doing this. And that's part of the problem. That's part of why we see revenue stalled, like plateaued. That's why we see not a lot of growth in new donors, is because you're planning an event that is a time suck. It takes a lot of people power to plan it. It has a high expense often, and a low ROI in profitability. So we see that a lot. It's like, hey, well, I like your 5K. What is that accomplishing? Is that accomplishing bringing new people, getting the community excited? How could we do that in a lower lift way that has a higher impact? And your street team can help you do that all day, every day. I was just giving a client some feedback in the club about her social street team. And I saw that she was working on this Valentine's campaign that has an in-person, such a fun in-person event on Valentine's Day for couples. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. I was like, bring in your street team for this. Help them locally for your organization, raise visibility for this one event. So your use case is endless. So many possibilities for this. So good. Okay. Would this work for our cause area? So this is a big one. I've heard quite a few executive directors say, we're not really we're not crisis. We're not a crisis related cause. It's really hard for us to fundraise. Or, I don't even know where we'd find our people because we're in the arts. Or I don't know where we'd find our people because we're in healthcare. I don't know where we find our people because we're in education. And it's so interesting to hear one cause area think that it's easier for a different cause area, right? And then they're saying the same thing about the other, right? And so the short answer is you absolutely can do this regardless of your cause area: education, healthcare, animal welfare, etc. It does work. Your process of how you build your street team and who you reach out to is going to be different. The strategy for an animal rescue is going to be different from a social justice organization. The influencer you reach out to, the pitch, you're going to customize it differently. Okay. So you want to think about it this way. So I'll give you an example. So for example, an animal welfare organization can partner with pet influencers and rescue advocates. Education and youth programs can collaborate with parent, mom bloggers, teachers, etc. There is a niche. So we have a pitch tracker inside the club, and we have over 40 different categories. There is a niche. There is an audience for yours. I promise there is. So we worked with an organization that was experiencing what they were experiencing was low growth in new donors and just that stall out, or we're meeting our goals, but it is a grind to get there, right? So when we bring on and we layer in a street team to your campaign, what we see time and time again is you double it. You double it. It gets you out of solo fundraising where it's not you, the organization, just putting out content, emails, phone calls, letters to your audience, kind of just, and hoping that for a different result. And in fact, you mobilize your street team, which is an army of influencers who are ready to show up and boost up your visibility, champion your cause forward, and bring in new funding. All right. Another question that I get very, very often is, how long will this take? How long will this take? Okay. So that's a big one. Because I think people are stuck thinking, I have to do these old school ways. These are the foundational ways. And I can only layer on this once I've got these other ways rocking and rolling. And the problem with that is grants take so long to apply for, grant applications, only to be rejected on the other end, or only to be awarded it, but you can only use it in this certain way. And then I have to report back to it. Or maybe you're planning an event or multiple events, or you're working on your direct mail or your long donor cultivation cycles. In fact, this process of creating a street team and deploying them when you need them creates momentum in weeks. So faster than your event, faster and cheaper than your grant application, which I know so many organizations right now can't even access their funding from grants, right? And there's so much uncertainty there. Faster than your direct mail, which has a 1% to 3% response rate. It's not that any of those are bad. It's that those should be back burner strategies, and this needs to be moved up to the front burner. Okay. So many of our clients have created a street team, 5 to 10 people in the first 30 days, they can deploy their first campaign. That's what you can do. We have a client that did a 7-day campaign. She brought in 50 plus new recurring donors in 7 days. 7 days, small shop nonprofit. 7 days. So you can do this. It's just a matter of starting it and then retaining and growing your street team. So this is the compound effect, is because similar to donor retention, we actually keep your street teamers and we add to them after each campaign. Okay. Last question I get a lot is this just for fundraising? Is this just for fundraising? And we have a lot of clients that come to us and that's their number one goal, because maybe they have a wait list for programs and they would love to expand. Maybe they have a program that they want to launch, but they don't want to wait 3 years. Like one of my clients who was able to actually launch her program early because they had the funding to do it. Maybe they want to hire more staff, but they don't have the funding to hire more staff. So fundraising tends to be like a core goal. And absolutely, this will help you for year end. This will help you for Giving Tuesday. This will help you on a slow month, like it did my client who historically in July was their slowest month of the year for revenue. And they ended up bringing in $100,000 that month, in part because of layering the street team strategy. So yes, you can use it for fundraising. That's great for that. And we use it for all sorts of things. So I gave you some examples earlier, but it's not just about raising money. You can do this for donor growth. You can do this for advocacy. If you think about leads, like getting more supporters and donors into your pipeline or donor prospects into your pipeline, this is great for this. This will help monthly giving programs grow faster. We have a couple of clients who have said, actually, our fundraising revenue is solid. We're good. Where we need help is program enrollment. That's where we need help. Or we have an organization, that I've worked with that they actually grant out funding, right? And so they're like, we are not getting enough women applying for these grants. And that's an audience it's really important to us to build out, right? And so I was like, that's a street team all day, every day. That's it. You have to be willing to get out of your own way to build this so your organization can grow, because you end up seeing that like ripple effect. So monthly giving programs, we see corporate sponsors say yes, because why? There's social proof and credibility. We've had media outlets take notice. Why? Again, social proof, credibility, that endorsement from a third party. You really get that ripple effect. And I want to end with how this looks in action. Way back when, kind of the first big viral fundraiser was the Ice Bucket Challenge. That was like that viral moment where it was a mix of everyday people who I would call ambassadors, and then online influencers who have large engaged audience, bringing up awareness, one, and then fundraising, two, for ALS. That's what this looks like. And our clients are doing this all the time. You don't need to have, it's amazing, but you don't need to have the Ice Bucket Challenge moment to double your next campaign. You just need a street team of 10 to double your next campaign. That's what it looks like. And so it gets you out of that solo fundraising mode. It gets you out of that, what I see as reactive fundraising, where it's like, by the time you finish one campaign, you have to start on to the next because you're not bringing enough funding in. All right, let me go to comments. Oh, okay. Book of all, two things. One, the Purpose and Profit Club. This is my group coaching program. This is where I teach you the entire process. You also get weekly coaching support. You get unlimited feedback. You get our complete street team curriculum. You also get all of like the vault of done for you templates and trainings for fundraising, for outreach, for lead gen, for prospecting, for creating your street team, for mobilizing your street team, for retaining your street team. The club is open through February 13th. That is next Thursday. If you want to book a sales call with me, I highly recommend you do. It's a free strategy call. I will learn all about your organization. I will share with you where like your next 3 steps of growth are, because oftentimes it's hard to see when you're so far in it. So those strategy calls are really, really helpful. And I will answer any questions you have about the club. You can go to splendidcourses.com/join for details about the club. And so, yeah, I'm happy to give you a little audit and help you open up the possibility of where influencers are kind of hiding out. That would be the easiest for you. What strategies can nonprofits adapt for authentic partnerships with influencers? Okay, this is good. Step 1 is getting out of what I would call old school fundraising and old school messaging and into bold school. I've also talked about this before with this idea of like decaf energy. So that's where your messaging and your storytelling is very safe. It's very sterile. It sounds very similar to the 10 other nonprofits in your niche. That is a red flag. Because number one, that's probably why your fundraising isn't converting as high as it could. Number two, that's going to be hard to bring in influencers, right? To find that alignment, because they're going to land on your website, your Instagram, wherever, and check you out and be like, wait, okay, what? Like they're not going to be compelled. So if you think about like the charity water effect, so many people were compelled to take action, to join the spring, to run a birthday fundraiser, right? To kind of mobilize, to lift up all across the world, because it really feels like this movement that's happening and the stories that they're using and sharing are different. They stand out. The headlines they use, the way that they talk about access to clean water is different. I remember they had a campaign a few years ago, and it was really, really good. It was all pictures of dirty water. And it was talking about why water should never look like this. You should never drink water that is yellow. You should never drink water that is brown. You should never have to drink water that is gray. And it was like, it was scroll stopping, right? And this isn't about hiring a big marketing agency. It's about saying the thing that's true and saying it in the way that you say it, not in the way that 150 people say it, right? So step one is you have to be authentic if you want an authentic partnership, right? Step two is if you want a partnership that isn't transactional, you can't be transactional. Meaning you can't just roll into somebody's DMs that has 1 million followers and be like, hey, we're hosting a fundraiser. Can you post about it? Right? That feels so transactional. That's going to be a turnoff. So what can you do instead? Right? What can you do instead? You want to start thinking about that mission alignment. We teach an entire process too about branding your street team. So immediately in the ask, they're like, they feel invited, like they're having a chance to rep something and they're in an exclusive community. That's a really important nuance. And so it almost starts, it's like at step 0. Priya Parker, she has a great book called The Art of Gathering. And she talks about how, let's say your event is on Valentine's Day. She's like, the event actually happens at the moment of the invite going out. Right? That's when you're actually seeding the vibe of the event. That's when you're rolling out the red carpet for your prospects, for your event attendees, like whoever's coming. And it is that way too with influencers, is like, it's not just go post about this thing and you're going to wait for the funding to come in. It's like they're being invited to a community or being invited to a movement. And the last thing that just dropped in is no one's asking people to do this, by the way. Like no one's asking influencers to partner with nonprofits. That's not happening. So now is the time to do it, because 5-10 years from now, you're going to say, oh, I should have done that already. Like I should have started that. Now is the time where they're not getting flooded with requests from other climate change organizations, other environmental advocates, right? They're not getting flooded with those requests. So now is the time to do it, because it's like wide open. Well, my calendar is open next week. So if you're just curious about it, I've talked to organizations who are small shops. This works for large established nonprofits as well. Oh, I can talk a little bit about the fundraising marketing piece. So the way that we teach this is your development or fundraiser, or sometimes it's your executive director, depending on the size of your organization, is the perfect person to join the club. And they are like the quarterback to this. And then your marketing or social, they now go from just creating content for content's sake. That's not converting. That's not driving in dollars. That's not driving in event tickets. That's not driving in much other than it just looks great. And suddenly they're part of your development team. They're part of like the bigger strategic plan. And this actually changes their workload. This changes their workload. So instead of spending hours and hours of time each week creating content that 1 to 10% of their audience sees anyway, y'all, just 1 to 10% of your audience sees your content on Instagram. So if you have 1,000 followers, that is a handful of people seeing your content. Instead, we flip it on its head, and now they're partnering with influencers, and your content is being seen by so many more people, right? So it's like co-creating this goal together. And for development, we're also helping them in their fundraising. We do complete like unlimited 360-degree audits. So for example, before you roll out that big campaign, I want eyes on it to make sure it's appealing to the right people. I will give you feedback on your messaging. I will give you feedback on your headlines, on your storytelling, on your emails, on your fundraising copy, all of those pieces, which oftentimes is the development side. That's appeals, that's fundraising. It can't even be for your direct mail. It can be for your email as well. Those are the pieces. If you need to go secure a major donor, I will coach you through that. So we meet weekly for coaching, and you can bring any question you have around fundraising, around marketing, around mindset, because that's a big part of it. and you can get the support you need. We have one fee to join the club, and we do not charge per seat. So that way your marketing person can have access to the curriculum and the feedback as they need it. And as the executive director of the fundraiser, you are supported. And again, you can go through that as well. All right, making sure that I didn't miss anything else. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been so fun to pop in on LinkedIn Live. Bye, y'all.